Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Monday. I hope you had a really great weekend. Today kicks off our first day of Spirit Week, and today is Motivational Monday. So I sent an explanation of what that entails on Google Classroom. If you participate, take some pictures and share it with me. So let's kick off lesson 9.3 today. Now, the last lesson, we were comparing fractions with the same denominator. Today, we're comparing fractions with the same numerator, and that is your top number, right? The number at the top. All right, so let's get our name on this. All right, and I'm not writing the date. I think it's 13th. Okay. All right, so here we go. Marcos is at Athena's cafe. He can sit at a table with 5 of his friends or at a different table with 7 of his friends. The same size spinach pie is shared equally among the people at each table. At which table should Marcos sit to get more pie? Now let's think about this for a second. You have the same size pie. Do you want to share it among 5 people or 7 people? Well, just having a conversation here, I would choose 5 because I would have to split it less times, right? So let's break this down and write out what we need to find. It says, including Marcos, how many friends will be sharing pie at each table? So that's a really, really important piece of information. We have the numbers 5 and 7, but we have to add 1 to each of these because Marcos wants some pie too. So we have either 6 friends or 8 friends. We're comparing. What will you compare? Well, we're going to compare the size of a piece of pie at the 2 tables. Right? Because you're asking yourself, if I split the pie 6 ways, how big will each size be? Or if I split it 8 ways, how big will the piece of pie be? All right. There will be 6 friends sharing pie A, and that's why we have 6 as our denominator because it's cut up 6 times. Over here we have 8 as our denominator because we have it cut up 8 times, equal pieces. So Marcos will get either 1/6 or 1/8 of a pie. So first we need to shade 1/6 of pie A. And then we need to shade 1/8 of pie B. It doesn't matter which piece you choose as long as you just shade 1. Remember, 1/6, 1/8, those are all unit fractions. Try to remember what we've done in the past. All right, which piece of pie is larger? So we're not looking at which pie is larger. Same size pie for both one. We're looking at the piece. It's pretty close, but is this piece bigger or this piece bigger? I agree, this one. So we're going to compare 1/6 is greater than 1/8. And now, this is going to be very important for the lesson. When your numerators are the same, remember last lesson I taught you a trick on when the denominators are the same. When the numerator is the same, look at the denominator, and the smaller denominator is always going to be bigger. I'll repeat that again. If you have the same numerator, look at the denominator. Whichever denominator is smaller, it's actually greater. Because think about it, you're splitting it apart less times. That means that each piece is bigger. You're only chopping it up 6 times versus 8 times. So it's going to be bigger here. And we'll do more examples to show that. So Marcos should sit at the table with 5 friends to get more pie. Which pie has more pieces? Well, pie B does because it was split up 8 times. It has more pieces, they're just smaller. The more pieces a whole is divided into, the smaller the pieces are. Which pie has fewer pieces? We learned pie A does. So the fewer pieces a whole is divided into, the larger the pieces are. Okay? I would put a star here because you want to keep this in mind. The more pieces a whole is divided into, the smaller the pieces are. And the fewer pieces a whole is divided into, the larger the pieces are. That's a huge concept of fractions, especially when they have the same numerator. All right, moving on. We're going to be using fraction strips here. On Saturday, the campers paddled 2/8 of their planned route down the river. So I'm just going to circle that fraction. On Sunday, they paddled 2/3 of their route down the river. On which day did the campers paddle farther? I'm going to underline my question. So we are comparing 2/8 and 2/3. First, it says place a check next to the fraction strips that show more parts in the whole. So if we looked at these two, okay, this is comparing it to a whole. Now, which one has more pieces? This one. It has 8 pieces. This one has 3 pieces. Shade 2/8 and then shade 2/3. So let me shade 2/8 and then 2/3. I'm seeing something already. Yes, this one has more pieces. However, this one covers more distance, right? Less pieces, bigger sizes. Now we need to compare. Looking at this one is greater. Look how far this one goes out. And 2/8 only covers this length. And when we have it in thirds, 2/3 covers a lot bigger of a length. So 2/3 is greater. And remember from the previous page, same numerators, check out the denominators. The one that is less is greater. 3 is less than 8, so it's greater. You know, it's like opposite than what we have been trained, right? It's like less is more, huh? Yum, yum, yum. Okay. Yeah, think about that. With this, less is more. I'm just gonna write that. It's a nice little quick phrase to help you. The less pieces you split something up into, the greater, because the bigger the pieces. So the campers paddled farther on Sunday because they went 2/3 of the way on Sunday. All right, make sure it's capital S, proper noun. Oh my goodness, I was so excited. I feel famous, right? I'm in the word problem. Okay, use reasoning. For her class party, Felicia baked 2 trays of snacks that were the same size. Important info. After the party, she had 3/4 of the carrot snack and 3/6 of the apple snack left over. Was more carrot snack or more apple snack left over? That's our question. So what we're doing is comparing 3/4 and 3/6. Now let's just use what I was saying. Numerators are the same, so check out the denominators. The one that is smaller is actually greater. Less is more. So let's see if this is right. If we use that quick piece of information, that quick tip I taught you, let's see now. So the more pieces a whole is divided into, again, the smaller the pieces are. The fewer pieces a whole is divided into, the larger the pieces are. Again, that's so important to remember. So 1/4 is larger than 1/6 because there are fewer pieces. Now you might ask yourself, where did we get 1/4? Where did we get 1/6? I thought we were using these fractions here. Now, what they're doing is they're just making these two fractions simpler, okay? The numerators are the same, so they're just saying, imagine you took one of these pieces only and had 1/4 versus 1/6. That was another way to quickly look at it, right? Right here, they did the same thing. So 3/4 is greater than 3/6. So there would be more of the, and that was the carrot snack, left over. All right, now we're gonna get into some serious practice with this. Shade the models to show 1/6 and 1/4. So let's do that. And then let's do this. And then compare. Well, if I look at the size of each piece, this one's bigger. So 1/4 is greater than. And again, we're using that tip. Numerators are the same, so go to the denominators. The one that is less is greater. Less is more. Now we can use that piece of information to do 2 through 7 together. Numerators are the same. Look at the denominators. Less is more. Right? If we broke something into 8 pieces versus breaking it into 3 pieces, these guys are going to be smaller. Numerators the same. Look at the denominators. Less is more. Oops, what is that? Looks like a chicken foot. Right? If I broke it into 8 pieces versus 4, these are going to be bigger pieces. Numerators the same. Check out the denominators. Less is more. Again, numerators are the same. Check out the denominators. Less is more. And remember, 4/4 is equivalent to 1 whole. Oh boy, that one we like. 3/6 is equal to 3/6. 3/6, I'm getting too excited over here. 3/6, remember, is the same as 1/2. 3 is half of 6. And if we divide top and bottom by the same, we would get that. Just a flashback, so you don't forget. Okay, and number 7, 8/4 is going to be, what do you think? 8/4 is actually going to be greater. Yes, this is 1 whole, but you have more here because your numerator is the same. That one's really tricky. We'll have to do a problem of that one, but still write that this is 1 whole. Okay, compare. Again, write less than, greater than, or equal to. So 1/3, numerators are the same. Check out the denominators. Same thing here. 4/8 is greater than, less than, or equal to 4/2. Numerators are the same. Okay. Now, 6/8 is less than, greater than, or equal to 6/6. Check out the denominators. Numerators are the same. Okay. That rule is one to keep. If the numerator is the same, check out those denominators. You don't want to forget that. Now, 1/6 is less than, greater than, or equal to 1/2. Numerators are the same, so check out the denominator. Less is more. And this one is equal to. And now if some of these were tricky, you could draw out fraction strips as well. Cameron found online printable fraction strips. Thank you so much for letting me know. And I will be sending those out on Google Classroom that maybe you could print out if you have a printer. If not, I know that's tricky. Maybe you could one day as an activity, maybe for some extra credit, make your own fraction strips and take some serious time to make sure they're equal if you wanted to try that out. James ate 3/4 of his quesadilla, and David ate 2/3 of his quesadilla. Both are the same size. Who ate more? So let's shade this in. James ate 3/4, so 1, 2, and 3. And David ate 2/3. All right. James said he knows he ate more because he looked at the amounts left. Does his answer make sense? Shade the models and explain. So we shaded them, and it's saying that James says he ate more because he looked at how much is left. So let's look at this is left for James, which is a smaller piece than this, right? So he's not necessarily looking at how much he ate. He's looking at how much is left, and what's left for him is less than David. So yes, his explanation is correct because James has, what he has left is smaller than the amount David has left. So let's write, yes, he makes sense because his piece that is left is smaller than David's piece that is left. Okay, so yes, he makes sense because his piece that is left is smaller than David's piece that is left, meaning he ate more. Less is more. All right, last page for today's lesson. Make sense of the problems. So Quentin and Hunter are biking on trails in Katy Trail State Park. They biked 5/6 in the morning, 5/6 of a mile in the morning, and 5/8 of a mile in the afternoon. Did they bike a greater distance in the morning or the afternoon? So that's our question. What do we need to know? So again, this is the part where the lesson is really breaking down the information. We need to know which distance is greater. Is it 5/6 of a mile or is it 5/8 of a mile? So let's write that. Which distance is greater? Five sixths or 5/8 of a mile. The numerator is 5 in both fractions, right? We're working with numerators that are the same in this lesson. So compare 1/6 and 1/8. Explain. So again, if you were to use your fraction strips, you would use your unit fractions to really see the difference. So what we've been learning is that the more pieces a whole is divided into, the smaller the pieces are, right? All right, how can we solve the problem? So since the numerators are the same, I can look at the denominators. I'm going to write out steps. Look at the denominators. The one that is less is greater. In the morning, the boys biked 5/6 of a mile. In the afternoon, they biked 5/8 of a mile. So the boys biked a greater distance in the morning. And 5/6 is greater than 5/8. Again, you have less pieces being broken up into here. So your actual pieces are bigger, meaning you're going a longer distance. Number 16, Zach has a piece of pie that is 1/4 of a pie. Max has a piece of pie that is 1/2 of a pie. Max's piece is smaller than Zach's piece. That's really important here. Explain how this could be possible. This is like the questions previously when, okay, yeah, our numerators are the same, our denominators are different, but they were still tricky. This is an example of that. So the reason is Zach's piece and Max's piece, it might not be the same size. The problem never told us that their pies were exactly the same, okay? So say you're with your friend going to the grocery store and you each get a pie from the bakery section. You don't look at what pie each of you are getting. And you eat 1/4 of it and another person eats 1/2 of it. And the person that eats 1/2 says, oh wow, why did I eat less than you? I ate a whole 1/2 of mine and you only ate 1/4 of yours. Well, Zach's pie could have been a lot bigger than Max's piece, right? So we don't know the size of their pies. So that information is missing. So you could say that Max's piece was actually smaller, right? Max's piece was or could have been smaller because the two whole pies are different sizes. Okay, now this one, I know some of you might be a little confused, so if you need further explanation, let me know. That one is tricky. But you want to make sure that fractions, again, they're all about equal sizes. So equal pieces, equal parts. So we don't know here if Zach and Max's pie are the exact same. If they were the exact same, then we could compare these, but we don't know that. So, you know, one pie could be way bigger than the other versus, so that makes these fractions hard to use to figure out who ate more. Okay, before taking a hike, Kate and Dylan each ate part of their same size granola bar. See, this word problem gives us the information that it's the same size. This one didn't, right? Kate ate 1/3 of her bar, and Dylan ate 1/2 of his bar. Who ate more? Again, we're comparing 1/3 and we're comparing 1/2. Numerators are the same. The one with the smaller denominator is actually greater. Less is more. So that was Dylan. Dylan ate more of the granola bar. Okay, and you could explain that by saying you drew two squares the same size and divided one into 1/2 and the other into thirds. And, you know, you could have showed it that way, right? So Dylan's pieces were actually bigger because he only broke it into 2 versus 3. So that completes today's lesson, lesson 9.3, comparing fractions with the same numerator. All right, so take a break, come back, try the homework. A lot of you have been doing a lot better with sending me pictures of your lessons. I'm still waiting on maybe 4 or 5 people to send me the Chapter 8 test. That should definitely be in by now, and I need to see that so I can get a grade in for you. All right, just a reminder, we are putting grades up on RenWeb for term 3, so missing a test is a big deal. So make sure you get pictures of that in and call me if you have any questions. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.